I know I just went from like, haha. But that's how it was. Like everything was great. And then it wasn't. Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cozy Little Book Club. I'm your host, Taylor. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm so excited, y'all. I say that every episode because I am excited to talk about these books. That's the whole point of this book club. But I'm so excited to talk to you about this book in particular. I'm kind of going for a dark and moody kind of vibe, and I feel like it's exactly what's needed for this book right here. I'm so excited. I've been listening to it. So yes, today we're diving in to an audiobook. The book we're talking about today is, drumroll please, My Soul to Keep by Tananarive Due. I'm so geeked to talk to you about this book. This episode might be a little lengthy, but it's so worth it. And I hope that y'all read the book and are into it just like I am. Now, let's get into it. Now, obviously, because I didn't read this book, but I listened to it, I don't have the book cover. So I will be putting it up right here. It is a very simple book cover, but it does give off dark, moody, and ominous. And that's exactly what this book is. I'm so excited. This book starts off sometime in the 90s in Miami, Florida. Represent 305, what it is. Yeah, so it's about a Black journalist by the name of Jessica who seems to have the perfect life. She's advancing far and quickly in her career at the Miami Herald. She has a kind, intelligent, and doting husband who loves her and their 5-year-old daughter, Kira, fiercely. This is the man that the girls really want. At the age of 27, everything is going great for Jessica. She's about to start a book with her work bestie, Peter. That is until he is brutally murdered. I know I just went from like, haha. But that's how it was. Like everything was great. And then it wasn't. Soon after, her uncle ends up in a hospital due to an injury that turns out to be fatal. Tragedy after tragedy seems to follow Jessica. And it really tests her faith as a Christian woman as all these things happen. And it's almost as if she can't catch a break. Soon, she starts suspecting that something is off with her husband, David. She soon starts reflecting on how David hasn't aged, how he never gets sick, and anytime he has an accident or an injury, it heals within a day. It's a little weird. And she also thinks about his deep hatred for going to the doctor and avoids them altogether, no matter the injury. After a pretty scary camping trip with just the two of them, David finally reveals a secret that he's never told another soul. He's a part of an Ethiopian sect of immortals and has been alive for over 500 years. What was supposed to be a sexy camping trip turned out to be really trippy, okay? Although I don't know if everybody agrees that camping trips are necessarily sexy, but that's what he was going for, and it didn't quite pan out that way for either of them. Well, it didn't quite pan out that way for Jessica. Once revealed, this puts an enormous strain on their marriage, and Jessica begins to question everything that she thought she knew about her husband. Oh, and before I forget, we also find out that David's name isn't actually David, it's Dawit. I'm not sure the origin of that, but I would assume it's an Ethiopian name. And the crazy thing is, that's not even all of it. David's path begins to catch up with him. The Ethiopian sect, also known as the Brotherhood of the Living Blood, comes to search for David after they find out that he's revealed the Brotherhood's deepest, darkest secret. The members of the Brotherhood are determined to keep their secret and do whatever it takes to ensure that their immortality remains hidden. And that includes threatening Jessica and Kira. For David, it comes down to whether he wants to maintain his brotherhood or protect his family. He's really put to the test. He chooses to protect his family, and that lends to a drastic collision of his past and present. This is a good book. I feel like even this summary isn't really even giving how layered and in-depth it really is. It's a good book. So before I tell you what I did and didn't like about the book, I really want to show a little love to Tananarive Due. She's a Black horror, thriller, supernatural author that, if I'm being honest, I think I'm a little bit obsessed with. Before reading My Soul to Keep, I read her book, The Good House, and was enamored. And I will be doing a review on The Good House. I just read this one most recently, so I thought it made sense to do it now. Let me tell you something about Miss Due. She's that girl, okay? When it comes to horror and vividly painting a picture, I don't know. Well, let me start by saying this. I haven't read a lot of horror books in general, but among hers and the ones that I have read, she knows how to tell a story and not just scare the shit out of you. She keeps you engaged and riveted. Like, she really knows how to string along a story. And for me, I appreciate that. And I'll also admit that I've never really physically read any of her books. I've only listened to them on audiobooks. But I think, honestly, that kind of lends to the appeal for me, because something about someone telling you a scary story, it really kind of goes back to the camping thing. Someone telling you a scary story really makes it more eerie and creepy, and you don't know what's gonna come next. So I really appreciate that. But regardless of how I got the story, she knows how to deliver them, baby. She knows. But before I go into full stan mode, I will say that Tananarive Due could definitely potentially be one of my favorite horror writers. And for that, I love her. I'm so excited to spotlight her and showcase her talent. Now, there's 3 other books a part of this African Immortal series, and while I really want to read the next 3 immediately, I do have some other books that I have to finish before I have to return them back to the library. Okay, there were definitely things that I loved about this book and definitely things that I didn't. For one, I have a background in journalism. That was what I went to school for. That was one of my first jobs out of college. And as a journalist, you're supposed to ask a lot of questions. That's basically why I started off in that career. I am very nosy. I ask a lot of questions, not even just to be nosy, just like out of genuine curiosity, just a yearning for knowledge. And I just feel like for Jessica, as an investigative reporter, she did not ask enough questions, period. Jessica didn't act very bright to me sometimes. There were a few times, and I mean a lot of times, where I was like, now why she ain't ask no more questions? Bruh. Like, girl, that's your whole job. Honestly, if I could, I wish I could have like grabbed her and shaken her and asked her to wake up. And in the book, she has a sister named Alex who was much more thorough than Jessica and asked the questions. But you know, people don't be listening and they're gonna do what they wanna do, which is their free will and their option to do so. But as a journalist, I was thinking, what is her thought process in a lot of these scenarios that she ended up in? It was a little infuriating, if I'm being honest, because I wanted to root for your girl, but I was like, girl, what you doing? And believe me, I've talked enough about Black love and how I love to keep the family together that you should know by now that I'm all for the family. I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for everybody Black, okay? I'm rooting for everybody who, not even just everybody Black, everybody who's loving and is in a good, healthy relationship. But there were times where I was like, now why she ain't just leave this man? Stand up! Like, girl. Stand up! Come on. Jessica was entirely too damn forgiving. Like, let's just start from the beginning. They met while she was in college. He was her professor, and then after she finished that class, they started to hang out. At this point, she's only like 21, and he's over 400 years old. So he's already being on some predatory shit, so it's weird. Now, mind you, at the time, she did not know that he was 400 plus years old, so I'll give her that. But when you found out, it's like, damn, girl. Damn, Jessica, think about it. That wasn't weird to you? Like, girl, run. This man lied to her from day one, and she was just a little too eager to believe everything he said. Like, he had so many lies to get to her to that point. Like, okay, let's take a step back. In the book, throughout the whole story, David was a good husband, but personally, I just feel like outside of him being a good person, there's just some principles that I didn't agree with. The whole marriage was about lying, like was built on lies. Their whole relationship was built on lies. So that's a problem to me personally. And she was just too forgiving to me. I just thought that was crazy. Like, girl, wake up. Now, this might sound a little harsh, and I'm fully aware of how people act when they're in love. I get it. Sometimes your logic isn't logicking in that time. But with the outside forces that she had, like her family trying to help her think rationally, she was just like, nah, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. At some point, you have to really think about what's actually going on. And actually, I want to say, this is a PSA. Let's stop the Delulu narrative. It's not helpful to anybody. Unless it's about your dreams and making them a reality, sure, go for it. Shoot for the stars. But about people, we just have to be honest with ourselves. And I'm saying this for everybody. Be honest with yourself. And then when you're honest with yourself, you can be honest with other people. And that's also a note to David, old lioness. Now, understandably so, he had a whole Ethiopian sect on his back. So I get it, but it didn't make it right. Because you knew the rules before. You knew the rules before you got hooked up with this young ass girl. I'm looking at you, doubt it. Now that I'm off my Jessica tirade, I will admit that she did say that she couldn't believe how easy and gullible she was at believing everything that David had told her. But by that time, it was a little too late, girl. Like, what you want us to do? What do you want us to do? Like, you took too long. A little too late. Cue JoJo right now. Now, this is not even about the book at this point. But reading this book that is set in the 90s and was published in the late 90s, the cost of living right now is too damn high. It is too damn high. It's honestly mind-boggling at this point. David bought the home that he shared with his family sometime in the 80s for about $90,000. Now, let's think about where we are. I am from Miami. Where he was living was somewhere on Key Biscayne Boulevard for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. He paid $90,000. That's peak real estate, right? When they sold it in 1990, whatever, they made full profit for $150,000. That house right now, I don't know because I haven't checked the Zillow, but I know that house is not that. It's definitely not that. Like, that's honestly a joke to even think that. It's so, like, we're also jaded about how the housing market is messed up, among other things. Like, you're not getting a house that cheap in Miami, Florida for that price. You're not getting a house in that area in Miami, Florida for that price at all. It's crazy. It's honestly sickening. Like, it's disgusting. We got to do better. Then there was another part when they were talking about filling up the gas tank for $10. Boy, I can't even get 3 gallons for $10. That is absurd. Like, what a crazy time that we really didn't. It made me think like, damn, I wish I bought a house when I was 7. Like, this is insane. This is insane. No, but seriously, this is insane. Inflation has been driving a lot of us crazy, but this book really emphasized it to me, how absurd it is. And they even mentioned Amazon and how it was purely just a bookstore and how it is now. They were talking about the ramping up of consumerism in the 90s. And it's just crazy because you can't even go on the internet without someone trying to sell whatever, anything you need. They're listening to you to sell you some shit. It's just crazy. And this is before they were really using internet like that. I mean, they were using internet, but they weren't buying things on the internet like that. So it's just really interesting to see how quick we advanced in our consumerism as Americans. It's insane. And I only say as Americans because that's where I live, that's where I'm from, you know, that's my life experience. But it's really crazy and concerning. But that's done. We're not talking about that anymore. Okay, now that I ripped America's economy and Jessica a new one, let's talk about the things that I did like. I did like that Jessica was a successful Black woman in this coming of age in America's economy. She was thriving. She was successful. She had a beautiful Black family. She was advancing in her career. She was doing great things. She had a family that she loved, her mom and her sister. They were very close, very tight-knit. It was very beautiful. This book also had a lot of bars. I'm talking bangers, like very quotable moments. I wrote down a few that I particularly resonated with, so let's just start from there. I might get some flack for this, but let's start with the one that Jessica said at first. I've had some conversations about it since I read the book, and this is actually something that Jessica said herself within the first few pages. She said that dogs were entertainers and cats were philosophers. I have no hate towards dogs. In fact, I do want a dog one day, but the way this economy is set up and how I want it to be in a house, I don't know about that. You know, there's always a lot of debates on the internet. Where else do you have a debate? Dog people always want a dog that's in their face, kind of constantly just giving them entertainment, happiness, joy. Nothing's wrong with that in any way. But cats definitely give you more boundaries, more autonomy of how they're gonna interact with you when they feel like it. And that's okay as well. So I think that in the beginning of the book, when she mentioned that, she was definitely kind of referencing that. Dogs are entertainers. They're gonna fetch. They're gonna do tricks. Cats gonna do whatever they want. I haven't had Boo in this damn video. He's sleeping. He don't give a damn about this video. He don't care. But I think it's just funny because a lot of people said that they don't like cats because they're sneaky or they're never happy. They don't give you love. And I think that's just like absurd because cats definitely give you love when they feel like it. Like that's what people do. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to not have to be happy all the time. And there's nothing wrong with being happy all the time. I'm just saying, we can have balance and that's okay, okay? While I've always been a cat person, like I literally cannot think of a time in my life that I've never had a cat. I keep that thing on me. Look at him purring. But I thought that was a really interesting quote because I feel like that is kind of true. So another banger, there was a direct Bible quote that I felt was really resonant and super impactful. Oh my God, there's so much cat hair on me. Oh my God. Let me just look at it to read it accurately. In much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrows. Ecclesiastes 1:18. It made me think about another quote, you know, the age-old ignorance is bliss, and how people who are naive generally are a little bit happier because they don't know everything that is going on. And once you do know everything that is going on in the world, things that are happening around you, being more aware, it does cause you to question more things, and sometimes that can lead to sadness, frustration, among other feelings. People who are naive or oblivious tend to have a little bit of an easier time navigating throughout life because they're not fully aware. And sometimes they don't want to be fully aware. I often think about that for a lot of things, but especially right now in this time of year, in this election year, especially with the United States. Regardless, being aware can be very tiring, very exhausting, and sometimes can make you feel a little helpless. And sometimes I can feel like a burden to carry. So I would really love if you guys could interact in the comments below and let me know what you all think about that. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree? How do you feel about that? And I don't mean it just in like politics or anything like that. I mean in general. Another quote that I thought was actually quite nice was the fact that life can only return after death. And for me, someone who is really into a lot of esoteric thinking and quantum physics and metaphysical properties and spirituality, I thought about the Uros Buros. And I'll insert a picture of what that is right here. The Uros Buros is a symbol of a snake eating its tail. And it made me think about the life-death-life circle that is often quoted in so many books and philosophies. And I just thought about that, and I thought that was pretty cool. Also, with David living so long, I mean, he'll literally live forever because he is an immortal. He had a very interesting perspective on mortals. And I'm gonna read what he said. He said, "How ironic is it that mortals who had the least time of all were willing to waste so much of it away from the people they loved?" In theory, that makes sense. But a lot of us don't have a lot of time to get all this money to be safeguarded and not have to work as much. Like, we have bills. Like, mortals have bills, David. And if you're a person who's been living literally forever, like, of course you have a leg up on everybody else. Like, you know what stocks to move. You know how to make the money. You know how to keep it. You have had historical artifacts that you can sell and pawn off and make a great amount of money. Like, mortals gotta pay in bills. We got bills to pay. So it was a little judgy from this immortal motherfucker to tell us about how we should live with our time. Of course, I would love to hang out with Boo all day, but I got things to do. Who's gonna pay for the house that Boo was cuddled up in? Me. So I don't need your judgment, immortals. Okay, we don't need that. So, in any time there's a vampire movie or a vampire book, I never understood the desire to want to live long. But I also am thinking about it from a moral perspective. Like, sure, there's a lot of beautiful things to see in life, and I definitely fully enjoy my life. This is not a complaint, but why? Why would you want to live forever and have to do all of that? Like, unless you're not, if you just can't be broke as a vampire or an immortal. Like, that's ridiculous. I'm going to come back to the part of living forever again, too. Another quote that I reflected on was, "It's going to get worse before it gets better. How frightening it is when fate is at liberty to take over what will has begun." This was a thought that David's old ancient ass had when he was thinking about how the Brotherhood could take his family. Now, with this being a sect and a brotherhood, there are obviously going to be rules, as so many sects and cults, and not that this is a cult, but not that it's defined as a cult, but you know, there's going to be rules to that. And you knew those rules before you laid up with that young ass lady. Like, David was a good husband, but morally, he had some troubling times, okay? Like, I struggled with him. It made me think about things that are destined to be and fate. Like, whatever's supposed to happen will happen. So, and I fully believe that in my own personal life and in the universe that I currently live in. Not like I'm an alien or anything. I think that this book struggled with that a lot. Being immortal and having to live on forever, a choice that you made, by the way. It's difficult for an immortal person. People that you love, if they're not immortal, you're gonna lose them. They're gonna die. Many centuries of death. And why would you subject yourself to that? It's kind of a torturous way to live, honestly. In fact, Tananarive said that while she was writing this, one of the questions that she kept in the forefront of her mind was, and I quote, "How does immortality change the human psyche to be free of death?" Like, who thinks of that? That is so cool. Regardless of all of that, the ending is such a cliffhanger, and I'm so excited to read the second book. And I won't go too deep into it today, but I just want to say that there are so many perks to listening to audiobooks. And one of them is listening to interviews with the author. And that's exactly what the surprise was for me after I finished My Soul to Keep. I was so excited to hear an interview with Tananarive Due and hear more about her thought process while writing this book. I won't go into the whole interview, but there were definitely some gems that I wanted to share with you all. I thought it was really cool to hear why Tananarive decided to make this book about immortality. And it really stems from her fear and obsession of death. Talk about embracing the fear. And since she had to do so much research for the background of the Brotherhood and how they were based in Africa, she said that she wanted to bring Africa to the mainstream of storytelling. And I thought that was really special. She then went on to talk about the living blood. And I will say that the living blood that is a part of this brotherhood, it comes from the blood of Jesus. Like, these people stole the blood of Jesus. That's kind of crazy. That's crazy. And while that could be quite controversial for a lot of people, she said that while these men in the brotherhood had the blood of Jesus, it didn't make them Jesus. So for example, you can have Christ-like blood within you, but you still have free will and autonomy to do whatever you want. So if you want to go and murder and pillage and kill and do other terrible things, you can still do that. You just have the blood, but it doesn't make you into that person. So I thought that was really interesting, because even though that wasn't my initial thought process that you would become this godly figure, I just thought it was an interesting way to think about it. So I just want to say that a physical book could never have the interview of the author. So that's one of the perks that I love most about audiobooks. All in all, I will give this book a solid 5 out of 5 golden bookmarks. It has everything you need for a romantic, eerie, and thrilling drama. Again, I can't wait to read the second book and even talk to you all about the first book that I read from Tananarive Due, The Good House. And that just wraps up another episode of the Cozy Little Book Club. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all for watching. If you've made it all the way to the end, please be sure to comment with the little stack of book emoji or any emoji of your choice. And if you've read the book, please let me know what you thought about it. And if you have any other recommendations, Tananarive Due or different, please comment them below. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know when Boo and I will be dropping new episodes. And to be honest, I really don't know if it's gonna be every week or every other week. I'm having a lot of fun with it right now, so for now it'll be every week. And if you've read the book, please let me know what you liked or didn't like about it. We're here to discuss. Also, don't forget to follow us on all socials at Cozy Little Book Club. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you have a lovely day. And remember, when you open a book, you open your mind. See y'all next time. Peace. Hi, hello. Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cozy Little Book Club. No, just kidding. She's about to embark on, no, we're done with the embarking. I don't know how much are we going to embark.